Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining me. There was a little bit of a techno glitch, as we can kind of rely on when we're dealing with technology. So instead of this being live, it's filmed. Thanks so much again for joining me. Tonight's subject is the emotional role in immune health, and specifically autoimmunity. When we're speaking of autoimmunity, we're speaking of keyword inflammation. Please note that this is not a substitute for medical health. If you're not feeling your best, if you're dealing with something chronic, if something came out of the blue and you're just less than, it's continuing and persisting, and if you've got symptoms you don't understand, please go to a trusted doctor, go to a naturopath, and explore the symptoms to get to the root. In addition to the physical efforts we have to put into maintaining our health, which include making sure we're hydrated every day, we are getting enough sleep, and we're also getting adequate nutrition from our food, taking excellent supplements as need be. We need to also invest time in what goes on behind the scenes that we don't necessarily see, and that's our emotional well-being or our spiritual well-being, however you relate to it. So it's kind of easy to disregard that because we don't see it. So in addition to the actions you take of taking care of your body, how much time do you give yourself daily for self-care, for your insides, right? I'll tell you that in my yoga work, the majority of people I work with that are coming to me with some kind of chronic inflammation, remember, keyword for autoimmunity is inflammation. So people that are coming with chronic inflammation, the majority have a common thread of hyperflexibility. And so that is being flexible beyond what is an optimal range. It's being really stretchy and bendy. And while some people think that's what yoga is about, they're mistaken. It's not at all. It's about a healthy balance between strength and flexibility. So while we might think that the inflammation itself, whether you're dealing with fibromyalgia or arthritis or IBS or whatever it is, while in the moment of inflammation it feels like you're really limited in your movement, that's actually come as an effect of a different cause. It's not the cause itself. It's come as an effect of, most likely or more often than not, of going beyond your healthy boundaries regularly. So because we're looking at this more from the emotional side, I'll explore with you, how comfortable are you to say no? Are you as comfortable to say no as you are to say yes? How comfortable are you to receive? Are you able to receive as much as you give? And this really is directed more towards women, though of course men, I'm speaking to you as well, and I'm here for you as well. I think women are generally either just in traditional roles much more givers and much more yay sayers, and so some of us might prize ourselves on how martyristic we can be and how much we can do for others, but everything in nature has a natural cycle of giving and receiving. There's a balance, and when there's not a balance, there's a forced balance that comes in as overcompensation. Okay, so if we go beyond our boundaries again and again, or we stretch and flex, whether physically or not, beyond what is healthy, and our body perceives us as kind of going in a danger zone. And in a sense, it's like, well, body, you're not thinking of my safety, and I'm not feeling safe in the world with you. There's going to be an overcompensatory inflammation that comes in to kind of restrict movement now, so that checks and balances are in place. Okay, are you flowing with me? Can you explore this? So while I'll just say that National Institute of Health has stated the exact cause of autoimmune disorders is unknown. So there's no one-size-fits-all way to deal with autoimmune disorders. 80 to 100 diseases today fall into the autoimmune or autoimmune-related category. And 50 million Americans are dealing with autoimmune disorders. So this is pretty significant. This is something that we want to begin to explore. And of course, physically, like, why is our food making us get inflamed? Or why are things that we're taking getting us inflamed or getting us, exhausted or things like that. We also want to begin to put some energy and love into how are we feeling, like the inner self. How are you feeling when you wake up in the morning and you go out into your world? Are you looking forward to your day? How do you feel at the end of the day? Are you exhausted in a good way of feeling accomplished and feeling like, wow, you saw people that loved you and you took care of yourself and you made a contribution? Or is it an exhaustion of like, okay, got through another day, counting down till the weekend or counting down till 20, 40, 60 years from now when I can retire and then really start living my truth? Okay, so beginning to explore how you're feeling regularly and about your life is pretty important. And I'll even go as far to say that it's important for how strong our immune health is. Okay, so let us look at how we can begin to use essential oils to support emotional well-being, to then support immune health. One question I'll say before we start, to just kind of let it dance around your head, is when we're speaking about boundaries, how much time do you give yourself to make a decision? Right? When someone asks you something, whether it's a big question or seemingly like really insignificant and simple, is it your instinct that you always have to answer right away? Do you give yourself permission to check in with yourself? Do you know you can take 24 hours or more before you have the right to say, I'm going to get back to you about that? Do you know that? Are you comfortable with that? Does that make sense to you? Just let that float around your head and your heart, and let's begin to explore oils and incorporating them into self-care practices. So I'll tell you, my morning routine almost every day is one where I use the oil of frankincense, which is the #1 anti-inflammatory oil. It comes from a tree, doTERRA, whom I exclusively work with because of their commitment to purity and potency, as well as their commitment to ethically working with indigenous farmers and responsibly sourcing their plant material. They source their frankincense from Somalia. So frankincense comes from a tree that grows in the craziest of conditions. It's like 130 degrees Fahrenheit in the middle of nowhere. Like, you just wouldn't think that this is an environment that can sustain life. And yet here we have this oil that has been in pretty much every ancient civilization across the board. It's been used in many cultures, spiritual practices. Like 2,000 or so years ago, there was actually a frankincense trail, and it was valued more than gold. So this oil is pretty potent. While it has anti-inflammatory properties, emotionally it's the oil of protection and spiritual or divine protection, shall you say. And that is kind of feeling rooted, and regardless, like the tree, regardless of what the crazy elements outside are that we don't have control of, you've got what it takes to be resilient and you'll get through, right? So that's a pretty amazing companion to have with you on your journey. So I use this oil daily. A beautiful way to use it, first of all, if you have a meditation practice or in your yoga or whatever you're doing, whether you're cooking or journaling, whatever it is you love to do, a beautiful way is put a few drops in your diffuser. Also, you can dilute a drop or two and rub on the back of your neck, especially up in the upper neck where there's that groove. Okay, frankincense, one of the properties is sesquiterpene, which is basically has an ability to support the oxygenation of the brain. So that was just a geeky trivia fact for you. So really good for brain health. But also connecting this with the body. So using this really pretty much daily, to just feel grounded, to feel supported, to know that whatever's going on out there, you've got more than enough. You were built to actually thrive in that environment, okay? How I use this daily is I mix frankincense with this gorgeous immune support blend of doTERRA's On Guard. On Guard has a few oils that are put together to really support the health of our immune system. I'll tell you that so some of the oils we have here are wild orange. So let's say perhaps you're a kind of person that instead of actually having a lack of boundaries, you have mega boundaries and you are kind of hardened, or maybe you feel like it's a really distrustful world. And the truth is, if you watch the news, it can definitely give you that feeling. You know, we hear a lot of the horrors that go on around the world, everywhere, all the time, and we're not hearing so much about the good things, and it can feel really defeating, and it can feel like it's not a safe place, and how can little old you, little old me actually make a difference? So wild orange is a gorgeous oil that supports, first of all, anti-anxiety, right, as do many citrus oils, but also emotionally it has the properties of playfulness and abundance, and kind of reconnecting with that youthful state where we to feel playful, you've got to really trust the environment you're in, or else you can't let your guard down and have fun. So there's wild orange. There's also clove, which is an amazing energetic boundary protector. So this is great, like if you feel, it's the #1 antioxidant in nature. So it protects you from free radicals, right? And let's think of those people that are kind of like those free radical personalities, just scavenging to do damage, whether intentionally or not. We've got clove on our side here. We have cinnamon here as well. So cinnamon is an oil that there's no true bacteria or fungus or virus that can stand in the face of cinnamon. So it is super powerful. It's amazing for the immune system. And also just knowing that while you've got this with you, you know that those fungi in your life, or that you might encounter along the way, or those bacteria, however, whatever forms they cross your path, they can't get to you. So how I use this in the morning is I'll take a few drops of my coconut oil, and you can use any carrier oil of choice, any vegetable oil that's just 100% clean, no additives. I'll take a drop of frankincense. Oh, 2 came out. And I'll take a drop of On Guard. And I do a little rubbing, and then I get on the bottom of my feet, and then I'll go a little bit deeper. I got a nice pedicure, so I'm really comfortable showing off my pretty toes. In your foot, the body is mapped here. So know that your big toe represents the brain area. So this is great for you, especially if you feel like you're really influenced by others. Protect your brain, protect your imagination and your thoughts and your autonomy to think for yourself and make decisions. The belly is around the high arch of the foot. So if you're dealing with indigestion and things like that, that's a great place to notice. The outer edge of the foot and the heel are representing the back. Okay, so the whole foot is a map of the body. So it's great if you're not sure where, what, and how to put, just get the whole foot covered, okay? So that's a great practice to do in the morning. I do it, and I really do it with the intention. First of all, I am taking care of myself. I'm contributing to my immune health. And I also do have this spiritual intention that when I'm doing this, like I'm protecting myself with a certain kind of boundary that is not hardness. You know, the good can come through, but all the bacteria and those free radicals out there can't make it across. They can't make their way to me. And I don't have to be hard to protect myself, which was something I definitely dealt with a lot, either growing up in Brooklyn or my nature or whatever it was. So I can start to be soft and come into my playfulness and feel trusting, but not in a naive sense. Okay? Another oil that is found in the On Guard blend is Melaleuca, which is also just a fancy name for tea tree oil. Everyone knows of tea tree. Tea tree is also an energetic boundary protector. It is super grounding and has antibiotic properties. So this is a beautiful one if you're feeling not just like, I'd say if you're feeling a little bit less than, or if you feel like there's something coming on or a little bit drained and you need to connect a little bit more to the earth, get some recharging, get some receiving going your way. Melaleuca is a really sweet one. It's also really nice. You can incorporate it into your household cleaning. And when you start using the oils in your household cleaning, that you're going to get the benefits because you're breathing them in, and that's the strongest way to use essential oils. And at the same time, you're going to begin to cut out some of the toxins in your house cleaning and begin to use the oils, which are as effective and more effective than those toxins. So Melaleuca is great if you want to use a floor cleaner. It's great also on guard as well, to spray the countertops, the doorknobs, etc., to use in the bathroom to kill germs and really prevent them for a few days, a week's worth of time or so, until you need to clean them again. Let us go to Digestin. Digestin's doTERRA's digestive blend. This is one that I use pretty much every day, and I found that it offers me great help with when I feel inflamed, and I've dealt a lot with food allergies, and this is, and also spring sinusitis, and this is one that I found just really supports me. But looking at digestion as input and output, right? We're receiving information, and what are we doing with it? We have to kind of filter things through and see what is, in Hebrew you say, what's matim, right? Like what is fit for you? Do you kind of just believe everything that people tell you, or are you able to filter and poop out the junk? Sorry to be crass, but let's just be straight up, yeah? If you do feel highly impressionable and like you don't really hear things without having some degree of needing to question, needing to explore for yourself, having the permission to say, I'm glad that this is your understanding or your belief, and it doesn't need to be mine. This is a really sweet oil to begin to use. You can dilute it again like how I did with the On Guard. You do a few drops of coconut or carrier oil. I put a drop of Digestin on. You can rub it on your belly and know that your stomach starts high up in your ribs, right? Especially for adults. It's high up in the ribs under the chest, and rub in clockwise motion. You can put a drop in your belly button. And also you can dilute and put on the bottom of your feet, especially if there's an anise in this, and fennel, and so it does have a strong, almost licorice-like smell. I love it. You might or might not. So if you want to get the benefits but don't love the smell, just dilute and rub it on the bottoms of your feet, and support yourself to be able to process and filter and poop out that which really doesn't offer you any nutritional value. It has in it Digestin peppermint. Peppermint's a cooling oil. Cooling, let's think of, is totally relevant for inflammation. And, inflammation comes to protect what might have been seen as a trespassing, right? Like you've gone too far, and so now you've got to put these boundaries up to really overcompensate. And yet at the same time, in that time of inflammation, there's no real healing that can be done physically because, circulation is limited and so forth. But also just think of when your guard is up in that inflamed kind of way, like you're not able to really come into yourself and check in and be in that parasympathetic state, which is where true healing can happen, to kind of go into your yogic shavasana or go into your relaxation and just let things go. Peppermint's cooling, so that's a great one to use diluted. It's an intense oil, so you want to really highly dilute it. I'd say even a drop or less. You can just tap the bottle and dilute it in your carrier oil and either rub on sore spots, or again, if you want to rub between your hands and breathe it in, or add it to your diffuser, or make a little spray, to spray around your home or your an air freshener or so, and get some drops of peppermint in to cool down. And that can also be cooling down emotions like anger or frustration, which sometimes come up because we feel that we've been taken advantage of. But if we go a little bit deeper, we want to begin to explore, how did we let others overcross our boundaries? Where did we not say no when we ought to have, right? And we put in a yes instead. So peppermint's a really awesome oil to explore with that. And then I'd say, while we're looking to cool down and do that work of saying, why am I upset with so-and-so? Wait, no one can take advantage of me unless I give them permission, right? Then we get into the oil of lavender. Lavender is a super calming oil, and it's also the oil of truthful communication. I just want to say that when I said that, you can't be taken advantage of unless you let people, I'm not talking about clearly anyone that's been victimized. This isn't a blame the victim. This is just beginning to explore how we can really have more of an influence on how others treat us, and really how we're treating ourselves, okay? Just want to clarify. Lavender is the oil of communication. So let's say we've used our peppermint to kind of calm down and cool off. Lavender is a gorgeous oil to use to begin to go inwards and start to do that work of, wow, where did I say yes when I really ought to have said no? Or where did I say yes to that person and that made me say no to myself? Is it easier for me to say yes to others and deny myself things? We want to begin to explore. So this is a really beautiful oil to also use before, let's say, you go into a journaling practice. So whether you do your journaling in the daytime, in the morning, like still in bed, or maybe before you go to sleep, and you want to take out your journal and kind of write down how the day went, or what were the moments that really stood out to you, or whether it's in the middle of the day. Lavender is beautiful in the diffuser for sure. If you're in bed, you can put a few drops on your pillow. I'd say put it on the pillow itself, not on the pillowcase. Again, you can also dilute, rub on the bottoms of your feet, get it on your neck. It's a strong oil, so 1 drop when you're using topically and diluting it is really enough. You can add it to a tea. If you want to make a beautiful lavender chamomile tea with some honey before you go to sleep while you do your journaling, and you'll get the nice fragrance from the steam of the tea as well. And then go into either free writing, so just putting the pen to the paper and just writing down what stands out to you from the day, or maybe writing specifically on what we were speaking of when we began, which is, how do you feel that you're able to say yes and no evenly, or not? And do you allow yourself permission to take time when you respond to someone, when you give an answer, or when you make a decision, to begin to ask yourself this question? So lavender is a sweet one to use in that work of journaling and examining. There's so many other ways and so many other oils as well that we can begin to explore, but those are really some of the basics. They're all in our most popular starter kit, so those are amazing oils to bring into your home and use for the physical benefits as well as the emotional. This was just a taste. I haven't really touched on everything, but I hope it's been good for you to learn a little bit or to get some food for thought. If you have questions, and as well, if you'd like to get these oils, learn how you get them at wholesale prices, shoot me an email, oilsandasanas@gmail.com. I'm Ingrid Arya on Facebook. And I'm really happy to answer your questions and to be here for you and supporting you as I support myself in this journey of healthy giving and receiving in the game of life. Have a wonderful rest of the day, everyone. Much love.